The movie begins with the showing of a boy named So Moon. There, So Moon being picked up by his parents from his grandmother's house. It was because of both his parents turned out to be detectives from the police, so they didn't have time to take care of So Moon and decided to entrust him to his grandmother. His parents promised to take So Moon on vacation every weekend as proof of their apology to So Moon because his parents didn't have time to him. But in the middle, his father's on the way. So Moon's father got a call from his friend, who also a detective, who told So Moon's father to be vigilant and careful. And then at the same time, suddenly a truck speeded up and hit their car until thrown away. Due to the accident, both of So Moon's parents have declared dead, while So Moon be able to survive. But his leg was broken, so that he could not walk normally. Here, it turned out that the accident was planned because suddenly a mysterious man approached and made sure if both of So Moon's parents had actually died. In other places, So Moon's father friend who called his father earlier was also declared dead because he had fallen from a tall building. Here we can conclude that the incident may be related to their job as detectives, and surely the culprit is a criminal who didn't want the secret of their crime to be revealed by them. And then the police assigned to investigate the accident didn't find any information, so the police declared that So Moon's parents' accident was really pure an accident. Shortly, 7 years passed. It seems So Moon has become a teenage man who lives with his grandmother and grandfather, but his grandmother has experienced dementia due to age. But So Moon doesn't give up and always lives his days cheerfully, even though his legs are disabled. And then we are introduced to two friends of So Moon who always accompanies him in every joy and sorrow. They are Min and Juyin. And then in another places, we are also introduced to the tavern employees who are a group of evil spirit hunters. And the group is called Counter. All members are selected to gain special power for hunting down the evil spirit who always possesses the human soul to commit murder. And the members of the Counter are named Ga Motak, Hana, and the last one named Chu Mei. At first, the three of them were ordinary humans, but suddenly they are chosen to be counters when they are in a coma, which is visited by death. But after gaining that power, they are assigned to hunt down an evil spirits. In return, the counters will be given life again. And then seeing the Counter are hunting evil spirits who are possessing human bodies. Here, the evil spirits are always leading humans to commit murder. And if there are more victims have been killed, then the level of the power of evil spirits will increase. That's why the Counter group was created, to stop the evil acts committed by evil spirits and return them to the afterlife. Here, the Counter is facing evil spirits whose power's level 3, so it makes the Counters overwhelmed to deal with them. But fortunately, the Counters can gain their power and will increase again. In the way, they had to go to the area that gave rise to the rainbow light. Knowing on that thing, the Counter always used that way to trap the evil spirits go to that area in order to defeat them quickly. Shortly, this level 3 evil spirit managed to enter the area of the light region, and there is one of the Counters named Choi was waiting for him. So there is a fight there. But suddenly, the light slowly disappeared, making Choi, who was originally strong, become weak again to fight the evil spirit, and it made Choi have to die at the hands of the evil spirit. In fact, he also sucked Choi's soul to increase his strength, while Choi's strength came out and had to look for the new body. But unexpectedly, it turned out that the spirit's Counter entered So Moon's body. At night, So Moon dreamed of meeting the soul Counter who had entered his body. That Counter named Wei Jen. In the morning, So Moon wake up and seeing black spots on his fingers. Knowing that, So Moon immediately tried to clean with a toothbrush. But those black spots couldn't be cleaned. Even the toothbrush he used was broken. And then when at school, So Moon see his best friend being bullied. Here, none of the students who saw it dared to report it to the teacher because the students didn't want to deal with the bully. While So Moon Juyin, who did not accept that, immediately reported the bully to the teacher. Knowing that, the bully named Shin Hyuk absolutely angry with So Moon for having dared to report him. But after being reported, Shin Hyuk and his gang never received punishment from the teacher because it turned out that Shin Hyuk is the son of the mayor there. As a result of the incident, Shin Hyuk and his gang immediately stopped So Moon when he come home from school because he wanted to take revenge. Here, So Moon was severely beaten by Shin Hyuk, but suddenly one of the Counters named Hana come to help So Moon, and Hana immediately beat them one by one. And then Hana also invited So Moon to go to the headquarters of the Counter. And it turned out that the headquarters of the Counter indeed is a noodle food stall that is very popular in the city. And then Chu Mei and Motak immediately welcomed So Moon presence. There, they also explained everything to So Moon about what had happened to him. But So Moon heard it still doesn't believe, but Chu Mei to convince him, and Motak said that the group requires So Moon's decision as soon as possible because the counter position named Choi must be replaced immediately. And the person chosen is So Moon to be the next counter. Hearing about that, So Moon refused and said that his job as a counter is very risky, and if he died then who would look after his grandmother later? Hearing that, he counter decided to give time to So Moon to think about it. After returning from there, So Moon suddenly got a call from Shin Hyuk, saying if Eun Min was being held captive and beaten by him in the schoolyard. Hearing this, So Moon immediately rushed there to save his best friend. After he got there, So Moon immediately beaten by Shin Hyuk, exhausted by the annoyance of Shin Hyuk's treatment. So Moon spontaneously holds Shin Hyuk's punch, which maybe it was the strength of his spirit. But So Moon who still couldn't control his strength. Finally, he was beaten again by Shin Hyuk's friends until he fainted. But fortunately, no longer after, the counters come there to save So Moon. Here, they found So Moon because Hana has the power of sensors to track evil spirits as well as someone. She can also see someone's past, while Chu Mei has a power to heal people. And the last is Motak, who had an expert in fighting. He is very good in terms of fighting. And then the counters took So Moon to the headquarters for treatment. When So Moon wake up from his fainting, he felt shocked because his legs could be used normally again, which turned out to be Chu Mei had healed his legs. Due to that thing, So Moon immediately cried and thanked Chu Mei. Shortly, Hana suddenly felt that there is level 1 evil spirit figure around them. Knowing that, they immediately changed costumes to hunt the spirit, and then So Moon who was there was invited to help hunt the evil spirit. When arriving at the location, So Moon see that the mother who had been possessed and trying to kill a kid. Knowing that, So Moon immediately informed the other counters to come to his place. Then with the strength and courage of So Moon, finally the kid is be able to be saved, as well as the evil spirit be able to captured. Seeing this, the counters felt proud of So Moon who succeeded saves the kid in his first act. And then before going home, Chu Mei gives the counter costume to So Moon and asks him to come tomorrow morning if he really wants to join with the counter. At night, So Moon dreaming of meeting again with Wei Jian. There, So Moon and Wei Jian make a deal, whereby if So Moon joins the counter and carries out his duties very well, and Wei Jian must give So Moon a chance to meet his parents. Hearing this, Wei Jian agreed and So Moon finally decided to join the counters. And the next day, So Moon immediately goes to the park wearing a counter costume which indicates that he is ready to join the counters. But before carrying out his mission, So Moon must first be trained to control his strength. With his training, now So Moon will be able to fight the bully in his school. When going home after school, So Moon got a call from Hana telling him to join to hunt the evil spirits. And then the counter arrive at the place. There, Hana felt the aura of evil spirits around there. But because the place is very large, they are decided to scatter to looking for evil spirit. There, So Moon also got the idea that the evil spirit is beating an old man, even though the old man kept begging, but the evil spirit was still killed by the evil spirit. The woman who is the man's daughter was very frightened to see him and tried to escape from there, but unfortunately, she was captured and was about to be killed. But when the iron was held by the spirit evil almost hit the girl's body. Fortunately, So Moon came and stopped him. The other counters who realized it were very surprised because only So Moon fight the evil spirit. So they told So Moon to be able to hold the spirit until they all come there. But when So Moon hold of the evil spirit's hand, he suddenly dreamy if the evil spirit had also killed a couple who were climbing the mountain. Seeing So Moon who was caught off guard, the evil spirit turned the situation around and immediately beat up So Moon. That made him succeed in bringing the girl away, when the evil spirit was about to kill the girl. Luckily, Motak came precisely and held the wall, while So Moon who had known that the evil spirit had killed people before. He was very angry and immediately beat the evil spirit mercilessly and almost killed him. But fortunately, the other counters members immediately prevented and resuscitated So Moon so as not to kill him. After that, So Moon was told to purify the evil spirit by using his power to bring the evil spirit out from the body of that person. After being released, and the evil spirit will be returned to hell, while the people he has killed will be led to a better place. And then they contact the police to punishing the murderer, because the murderer he had committed was not solely done by an evil spirit, but it happened because of man's own desires, so that an evil spirit enters his body, so that humans who have become perpetrators must also be punished. When they see police car, So Moon remembered again his parents who also used to work as a detective in the police. When So Moon mentioned his father's name, suddenly Motak felt familiar with his father's name, because he used to be wakes up from his coma. He finds a business card from his jacket, and the name was exactly the same as the name mentioned by So Moon. But in here, Motak doesn't want to discuss it with So Moon, because he also doesn't remember with his past. And then at the counter headquarters, suddenly the arrival of a man named Jang Mol. Here, it turns out that Jang Mol is the first counter in Korea. But here, he only responsible for supervising and financing all the counters. There, Jang Mol also want to see new members in counter group. And then Motak, who already knew about So Moon parents, he becomes curious to investigate. Here, Motak also considers the death of So Moon's father was related to his past, and in this case, maybe Motak will be able also in finding out who the perpetrator who has tried to kill him. Shortly, he is going to police station and met with the leader who handled the death of So Moon's parents, who at the same time Motak also reported to be in a coma and died by suicide. Hearing this, Motak couldn't believe it because it is impossible to be someone who committed suicide but left a stab scar on the stomach. Where here it seems that the police are covering up the case. The next day, at school, Eun Min and Ju Yeon ask about So Moon who suddenly healed his leg and be able to do martial art. Hearing this, So Moon could not tell what really happened because it would violate the rules of the counter. So he said that it was a miracle from God, and then So Moon asked his friend to hide this healing to everyone. When they are in front of the class, suddenly a group of school gangsters come there to look for So Moon, because they got news that So Moon dared to beat up Shin Hyuk subordinates of the gangster. The leader of the gangster who sees So Moon who has small body immediately threw him at the window. But they are shocked by the skill fighting of So Moon. And then So Moon said that they should not interfere again his friends and all the other students. They immediately left in fear. But at night, So Moon got a call from Shin Hyuk showing a video that the two friends were held captive and tortured again. And then Shin Hyuk asked for So Moon to come there if he wants his friends to survive. Knowing that, So Moon immediately going to that place. When he arrived there, So Moon immediately confronted by Shin Hyuk's subordinate. So Moon sees his friend's condition is very bad. Absolutely, he immediately get angry, and suddenly all areas of strength from the light also appear. So that makes So Moon's strength increases. That's why Wee Jen as a spirit of So Moon feels the effects of it. As well as other counters feel great power, which was released by So Moon, and it would be fatal and could kill people. And So Moon immediately get angry and beat them mercilessly, until only Shin Hyuk was left. But So Moon, who was already shrouded in anger, continued to beat him mercilessly. Shortly, the counters come and immediately stop So Moon to not to killing him. Because if Shin Hyuk dies by So Moon, then there will be a debate among the spirits, because someone has been chosen being a counter is not allowed to commit murder and revenge. Shortly, the police come there, and then Hana, who heard that, immediately invited So Moon to escape with them. But So Moon doesn't want it because he wants to accept the consequences for what he has done. Shortly, So Moon was taken to the police station with other people, but here, it can be seen that only So Moon was not injured, which made the police immediately accuse if So Moon is the perpetrator of this riot. Even the parents of the delinquent people also accused and berated So Moon for making their son battered. Plus, it turns out that their parents are rich people, so they don't want So Moon to be free just like that. But fortunately, suddenly Jang Mol come and confessed as So Moon's guardian. Jang Mol, who is the richest man in the city, of course managed to silence all the parents there. Plus, Hana, who brought evidence that Shin Hyuk and his gang who had kidnapped So Moon's two friends, until finally, So Moon could be released. When he is going home, So Moon tells to his grandmother if his legs are healed. Hearing this, absolutely they are very happy, because they had been sorry for So Moon who lived the days with abnormal. And then the spirits held a meeting about the incident that had been done by So Moon before. Then one of the spirits named Run thought that So Moon's actions had violated the rules of the counters, so he felt that So Moon should be expelled from the counter. But fortunately, the counter others members come and explained everything, where So Moon did that because he wanted to help his best friends who had been bullied and he couldn't control his anger. Hearing that, finally, all the spirits gave a chance once again to So Moon to be better counter. And then the next day, Chu Mei and Hana tell Motak about the death of So Moon's parents related to him. And then Motak, who seeing that the case looks very strange and must be investigated further. Hana, who heard it, also added that she also had time to see flashbacks about So Moon's parents who looked like they were indeed killed by someone else. And then they all agreed not to tell So Moon before the case was revealed by them. On the other side, So Moon, who is sweeping in the courtyard of the tavern, suddenly seeing that there is light of power, So Moon, who see it, immediately held and played with it. But the counter members who seeing that immediately surprised because they also unable to hold that light. Knowing that, the counter also assumed that So Moon has special power to control the energy light. A few days later, the counter members felt again the aura of a level 3 evil spirit whose power should not be underestimated. And then So Moon managed to find that evil spirit immediately followed her. But it turned out that that evil spirit realized that So Moon who continued to follow her into the elevator. That made So Moon immediately beaten and overwhelmed. But fortunately, Hannah come directly to back up and kick the evil spirit. But because the evil spirit was level 3, she makes overwhelmed Hannah too. Shortly, Motak come, and he is the one who be able to defeat the spirit. But when he wanted to remove the evil spirit, suddenly the police come and arrested the woman, so that the counter had to go home without removing the spirit from the woman. And then Motak going to meet a policewoman to ask about his case. And then Motak said if he got an evidence again with the case of a deaf woman named Young Nim, who may be related to him. Hearing this, finally the policewoman with Motak decided to conduct an investigation by going to Young Nim's residence. There, they eventually managed to find a blood sample showing evidence of a murder. And elsewhere, Hannah is seen visiting her past home. Here is revealed the fact that Hannah used to have a happy family, but that happiness disappeared since the death of her family members one by one. And then So Moon come, who turned out to be following Hannah from behind. Both of them immediately surprised when they see one of So Moon's friends was living in there. The girl said that her father was always rude to them, so they ran away from home and decided to stay at Hannah's past house. And then So Moon asked Motak so that the girl could stay temporarily in the base. Not long after, suddenly thugs come to raid the house, then So Moon who see that absolutely fight them. And then in the car is seen a man because he is the leader of the thugs. And then Motak who see that immediately going to him. And here revealed that the man turned out to be the perpetrators who had stabbed Motak in the past. Little by little, Motak's memory returned and began to bind again. If the faces of the man, it was the same as the person who had stabbed him. Knowing that, absolutely Motak is angry with him. And then the man who realized it immediately tried to run away. And he also scared because he knows Motak had died 7 years ago. And Motak immediately beat him unconscious. And the man named Chang Jiu. Here, Motak still clearly remembered the last person he saw before Motak decided to jump from the top of the building. But when Hannah saw Chang Jiu's past, it turns out that Chang Jiu was just an errand from the Tangsen Company. Knowing that, Motak and his gang directly dispelled Chang Jiu's memory and delivered him to the Tangsen Company by stuffing into a sack. Here, it turns out that Kang Jiu is the younger brother of the owner of the company, and his name is Han Jiu, and then Motak who knows it being confusion with the purpose of a company owner who tried to kill him. Then Motak thinking that if this case has any connection to Young Nim's death, which is still unsolved, so Motak has to investigate further to find out everything. On the other side, Chang Jiu who had regained consciousness from his stupor and he couldn't remember the incident of last night that happened to him. But his own friend clearly said that the culprit was Motak. And then Chang Jiu who heard that even assumed that his friend is hallucinating because Motak has been passed away 7 years ago. Han Jiu who heard that being curious and wanting to make sure if Motak's still alive, and he ordered the two of them to investigate. And if it was true that Motak's still alive, then they had to kill Motak in front of him directly. And from here, it is revealed why Han Jiu wants to kill Motak. It's because Motak knew the big secret that will making the position of the mayor threatened if it is published to the public. And then Han Jiu who always gets help from the mayor. Of course, he also becomes involved with this case. And if the mayor can maintain his reputation, then the mayor can run for president and absolutely will make Han Jiu and his colleague get a position in the government. The scene shows the mayor gathers all his troops for a meeting about there is a counselor who now is trying to block him from becoming president. And then the mayor ordered his subordinate named Sang Pil to do something bad to the counselor, to sign if he has to support the mayor. After that, Sang Pil ordered his adopted son is to do his job. And it turns out that his adopted son named Cheong Shin has been possessed by a level 3 evil figure who killed Counter Choi at the beginning of the movie. Cheong Shin managed to get the counselor to sign the mayor's letter. But suddenly he was possessed again by an evil spirit, so he accidentally killing that counselor. As a result of the incident, absolutely would make threats to the mayor with his subordinates, because if the murder revealed, then they will suffer the consequences. And then the policewoman named Jiang Yang, who is handling this case, managed to find Cheong Shin on CCTV. Elsewhere, the mayor who already knew about it of course, angry to Sang Pil, due to the actions of his adopted son who was very barbaric. Because he doesn't want his reputation to be ruined, the mayor is forced to order Sang-pil to immediately kill Cheong-shin. And at night, Sang-pil immediately scolded Cheong-shin while pointing a gun at his head, and Cheong-shin, who see it, felt disappointed to Sang-pil because he already considered him as his own father. But suddenly Cheong-shin was possessed again by an evil spirit, so that the gun that Sang-pil was pointing turned around to him and made him dead. And then the scene moved to So-moon, who is opening his parents' archives. There, he accidentally found a memory card containing video recordings, knowing that So-moon is going straight away to meet Mo-tak to tell him. After seeing the video, Mo-tak thought that the video might be related to young Nim's case, which is her body still unaccounted. On the other side, Mo-tak also found an information from a blood sample he had found before, where the blood sample identified that the culprit was Cheong-shin. From his criminal record, it turns out that Cheong-shin is a high-class hitman, so that the evil spirit that enters his body becomes suitable when it enters him. Because of that, an evil spirit in Cheong-shin's body becomes level 3 because he often commits murder. And then, since getting the information, Mo-tak and So-moon work together to find Cheong-shin. But in the midst of his investigation, So-moon finally found out that the deaths of his parents were not caused by an accident, but they were killed. And what surprised him again turned out to be Mo-tak was an associate of his father who was also investigating the same case. So-moon, who finds out that he feels disappointed in Mo-tak for hiding it from So-moon, when in fact, Mo-tak also doesn't remember anything about it. And then, since the incident, So-moon never came to the counter's headquarters until finally Hana, who came to see So-moon to explain everything. Then Hana invites So-moon to see the past of the death of his parents, and they are going to the past using Hana's power. There, So-moon was very sad when he saw his parents' faces again. And in that incident, they both saw the truck driver who was crashing into his family, and one of the driver's colleagues turned out to be Cheong-shin. There, Cheong-shin immediately sucked the soul of his parents, making his parents' spirits trapped inside Cheong-shin's body. And then So-moon, who saw it, absolutely being very angry, and he immediately wanted to hit him. And strangely, Cheong-shin also felt So-moon's presence, even though it was just flashbacks. But luckily, Hana with all her energy immediately brought So-moon back to the real world before So-moon messed things up. But unfortunately, Cheong-shin has considering their faces, and he would be prepare himself to fight them. After the incident, the counters decided to look for Cheong-shin with the aim of want revenge, and free the spirit of So-moon's parents who are trapped in Cheong-shin's body. And then in their search mission, they will invite Jung-yang to work together to make it easier to find Cheong-shin. After that, they are going to the factory where Cheong-shin was located, but unfortunately, they are not be able to find Cheong-shin, and instead they found Sang-pil's body pinned in a pile of cars. And then Jung-yang, who see it, immediately reported it to the reporter with the aim that it would go viral and the police would not covering up the case again, knowing that the police now making Cheong-shin a fugitive. A few days later, in the middle of a search mission, Cheong-shin, Hana suddenly only sensing that there is an evil spirit around them, who turned out to be the evil spirit is Hana's own uncle. Knowing that, the counters immediately rushed to hunt him down, but on the way, their car was hit by a truck, which turned out to be the culprit is Chang-ju, who had attached a tracking device to the car of the counters. Seeing that car had been destroyed, Chang-ju tries to take a picture of it to report it to Han-ju. But how surprised he is, the door of the car flew away, almost hitting his head, and it turned out to be Mo-tak get out of the car with a wound on his head, as well as the other counters. Seeing that thing, Chang-ju was very scared and immediately ran away. Here, the counters don't want to spend time serving Chang-ju because they have to immediately catch the evil spirit. And Hana, who has a grudge against her uncle, immediately asked the counter to be given time because she will handle it. Until finally, they managed to release the evil spirit of and directly handed over her uncle to the police to be punished. And after the incident, Hana feels better because actually her uncle was the one who had ruined her family. The next day, the counters investigated again about the crime which has been done by Mayor, and then in the investigation, they found a reservoir that is being kept secret by Mayor. Knowing that, the counters suspect if the reservoir revealed, and then the mayor's reputation would be destroyed and would fail to become president. Shortly, the counters managed to find the location of the reservoir, and they are immediately rushed there to investigate it. It turned out that the reservoir that was being hidden by the mayor and his subordinates turned out to be a garbage dump and contained the pieces of the human's body. Even the clean water that flowed into the city turned out to come from the waste. Knowing that thing, the counters get angry and intending to want all the bad thing done by the mayor to be revealed to the public. At night, So Moon, who were going home, suddenly felt a strong evil spirit that was following him. And it turns out that Chung Shin. Seeing Chung Shin in front of him, So Moon very ambition because Chung Shin who had killed his parents. Even though So Moon's spirit, Aka Wei Jian, forbade him to fight because Chung Shin is a level 3 evil spirit, but So Moon doesn't care about it. And in that fight, So Moon is very overwhelmed to face Chung Shin, but suddenly the light of power appeared in that area, so that it made So Moon's force increase, and he tried to bring Chung Shin to that area. Chung Shin, who realized it, now he knows about the secret of the power of the area owned by the counters, so that Chung Shin absolutely tried to avoid the area, which made So Moon beaten again by Chung Shin, but unexpectedly, So Moon could attract the light. But unfortunately, his hand was immediately stabbed by Chung Shin, which made the light disappear again. Shortly, Zheng Yang come there, who immediately pointed a gun at Chung Shin, but the gun immediately come to Chung Shin. And at the same time, the counters also come there to help So Moon. Chung Shin, who see it, felt outnumbered, so he decided to run away from there. And then Chu Mei, who sees So Moon's condition, who is messy. Absolutely, she is directly took out a treatment move to heal him. But because the injury was so severe, it made Chu Mei's hair slowly turn white. It has released strength at her threshold, and after that, she is fainted. And then when So Moon wake up, he tells if Chung Shin had known the source of the power of the light area that owned by the counters, so that it would make them difficult to catch Chung Shin. And then he recalled his fight with Chung Shin, when he was able to pull the light wherever he wants. Realize that So Moon trains himself and remembers everything he has ever experienced, so that all the emotions, pain, sadness, and anger become one. That makes So Moon's strength light appears even greater. But as a result of that, Wei Jian, as a spirit of So Moon, looks very bad. Her body is transparent, like she is going to disappear. And it turns out that it is because of all So Moon's emotions are excessive, and it will threaten Wei Jian's life. After that, Motak invites So Moon to investigate the reservoir again. And there, they meet a man who wanted to revenge against the mayor, on the grounds that the water sourced from the mayor's reservoir had poisoned his child. And it turned out that this man was So Moon's father's colleague, who also knew all the crimes of the mayor. Heard that, Motak and So Moon being even more annoyed to the mayor. The next day, the mayor is campaigning to run for president, knowing that the counter taken advantage of it to reveal the crime who has been done by the mayor to the public. When the event began and aired on television stations, the counters instantly changed the image by displaying hazardous waste pollution was flowed into the city by the mayor. From here, the counters planned the chaos of the event, and sure enough, the event instantly fell apart, and some media immediately broadcast it to the public. Seeing all the chaos, the mayor with his subordinates was naturally shocked, and they left there to search for who is the culprit. After the incident, the counters are happy and celebrated their success. But suddenly, the counters are summoned by the spirits, and there is the leader of the spirit who showed all the behavior of the counters that have break the rules. Whereby the counters who have used their power for anything other than to catch the evil spirits, they will be dismissed as counters if they were shown to make 5 violations. One by one of the counters came forward and were shown what violations they had committed. Where Hannah had committed 4 violations, and one more time do like that, then she will be dismissed as a counter. While Motak gets 3 violations, and Chu Mei only 2 violations. And when So Moon is going in front, he only committed 3 violations. But when the meeting is end, Wei Jian, as the spirit of So Moon, said that if So Moon should be dismissed as a counter, because he can't control his emotions, and even that would endanger Wei Jian herself. Hearing this, So Moon asked for a chance because he who had to release his parents' spirits, but that's only in vain because the leader of spirit agreed to Wei Jian's request, and revoked the counter power from So Moon. After that decision, Zhang Mul immediately erases So Moon's memory and returns him to his original life as a geeky man with disability leg. When So Moon is going to school with his disability leg like before, Shin Hyuk and his friends who see him, absolutely he bullied him again, and made sure that So Moon is not pretending. And sure enough, So Moon can't fight them anymore. While Ung Min and Ju Yin, who see it, immediately felt astonished because before So Moon's leg had healed, and then So Moon, who heard it, feels confused by the words of his 2 friends, because he who had no remember of anything. Elsewhere, the counter members continued their mission, even without So Moon. There, Zhang Yang also now often goes to the headquarters because she also participated in the investigation. And then Zhang Yang said that a few days ago, there had been a sudden murder. Hearing this, the counters are convinced that the culprit was none other than Chang Xin. But suddenly, they are shocked when they see the news on TV that reported if Chang Xin had committed suicide by setting himself on fire. The counters who see it being angry because if Chang Xin died, So Moon's parents' spirit would stuck forever. On the other side, So Moon, who also saw the news, immediately went to the police station to confirm it. When he arrived at the police station, So Moon accidentally met Motak. There, Motak was very surprised because So Moon should really lost his memory and didn't know about Chang Xin. However, it turns out that So Moon's memory was not completely erased because Zhang Mul couldn't bear to do it. After that, Motak and So Moon are going to see Zhang Yang because they wanted to make sure the body of Chang Xin. And when viewed from the results of the investigation, they are sure that the body was not Chang Xin. And it turns out that it is just a plan carried out by Mayor to make people no longer make Chang Xin as fugitives, and that is to clear the name of the mayor himself. Because previously, Chang Xin came to the mayor's room and reminded them that the counters are not an ordinary people, so there was an agreement between them to make plans in Chang Xin's fake death. Elsewhere, Motak is taking revenge on Mayor by arresting his subordinates first to the police station. There, he also brought in evidence to arrest Chang Yu and hang Yu to prison, but unfortunately the police chief sided with Hang Yu, so the arrest would have been difficult. Elsewhere, when So Moon came home from school, he was intercepted by Shin Hyuk, who wants to bully him, and immediately hit So Moon mercilessly, until So Moon be able to hold Shin Hyuk's attack and told Shin Hyuk to be a better person. He is immediately left from there. The scene then moved to Chang Xin, who wants to gather all the evil spirits to work together against the counters. Starting by meeting a man in his body, there is an evil spirit who had not yet resurrected. So that made Chang Xin had to resurrect him by killing the man's friend. And the man sucked his soul, so that the spirit in his body have to rise. After that, Chang Xin also met a level 3 evil spirit in a woman named Bai Qiang, who had been defeated by the counters, but had not been expelled, and now she has joined Chang Xin. And when So Moon is about to back home, Chang Xin immediately kidnaps and holds him. There, Chang Xin wants to make a plan to use So Moon as bait for the counters to come there. After seeing the video, the counters go to the place where So Moon was kidnapped. Chang Xin is very confident that he can kill all the counters, especially knowing that So Moon now is no longer a counter and has no strength. When the counters got there, Chang Xin immediately carries out his plan by separating Chu Mei, so that Hana and Motak confused are they must save Chu Mei or So Moon. And they went straight to the So Moon's room, who had no power anymore. In the fight, the counters were outnumbered, so that finally they also lost very easily, as well as Chu Mei is being severely beaten by 2 evil spirits. And then So Moon, who see it, felt very guilty because he couldn't do anything to help them, and he could only surrender when he sees Chang Xin and his friends burning the place. And then So Moon begged that he could be given another chance to become a counter, and unexpectedly, So Moon's request was heard by Wei Zhen, so that she re-entered So Moon's body and made him as a counter again. After that, So Moon rushed to save all the counters there before the place burned by the fire. Outside of that place, Mayor with his subordinates are watching the fire, and they thought that the counters were dead there. Back to So Moon, who had delivered all counters to the hospital for treatment, but Chu Mei's condition is so critical that she is unconscious. The other counter who see it naturally feel worried. Likewise, Chu Mei's spirit named Quan, who suddenly fainted too. And then Chu Mei dreamed of meeting Quan. There, Chu Mei apologized to him for not being able to take care of him, and here it is revealed that Quan turned out to be Chu Mei's biological son in the past, but due to an accident, Quan died and only Chu Mei who could be survived. Since his death, Quan even became his own mother's spirit, and in the dream, Quan told his mother to continue living and continue to be excited. After hearing that word, Chu Mei finally regained consciousness from her coma. And then the counters gathered again at the headquarters. There, Motak says if since he was hit on the head by Chang Xin, it turned out that it made his memory come back again, so that it made him remember his past cases that had been investigated with So Moon's father. And then Motak called Zhang Yang and says that his memory has recovered. Hearing that, Zhang Yang really happy, and also heard if Motak remembered their relationship. After that, they agreed to meet to reminisce about their love period. But when he arrived at his destination, Motak even saw the state of Zhang Yang, who had been dead because of shot. Seeing this, Motak is very sad, and he just wanted to say thank you to Zhang Yang for waiting for Motak all this time. And then Zhang Yang was declared dead, but the police who handled the case even covered it up and stated that Zhang Yang died by suicide. Motak, who heard that, absolutely didn't accept it and was suspicious of Choi. He is a police chief, because he was the only one who always close cover all cases of mayor. The next day, all counters gather and plan again to take revenge. That is, by the way, would pit the mayor against his own subordinates, so that the counters would be very easy to defeat him. And then the plan would start with Zhang Mul, who would disguised as a supporter of the mayor's campaign. And it turns out that the plan works because mayor trusts him, so he naturally falls into their trap. And then the mayor told Tae-sin and his subordinate to prepare 5 billion as a preparation fund for the campaign. But it turned out to be all the money was directly taken by the counters, and the contain of the suitcase had been changed to bottles of water. The mayor, who see that, absolutely angry with his subordinates, and then in his anger, Zhang Mul took the opportunity to took samples from the mayor in order to show that he was Young Nim's murderer. After that, the mayor also scolded Tae-sin and Han Yu for not being able to do their job. Because of that, the plan to pit the mayor against his accomplices has succeeded. Even now, Tae-sin now plans to look for mayor's weakness, because he doesn't want to be demeaned continuously by mayor, while Han Yu, who see it, decided to avoid because he doesn't want to interfere. But he told Chang Jiu going to reservoir to dig up important evidence that had been hidden there. But luckily, So Moon and Motak already knew that, so they followed Chang Jiu. And then Motak suffocating him and erased all his memories. After that, Motak brought the evidence that Chang Jiu was going to burn earlier. And it turned out to be the evidence that they want to get rid is Yang Nim's body, which had been buried for 7 years. Knowing that, the counters immediately reported it to the police, so that the mayor with his accomplices can be imprisoned. When they see the mayor arrested, absolutely the counters very relieved, because now they will only focus on catching evil spirits. Meanwhile, Cheung Shin and both of his evil spirits continues to hide, and now he heads to an orphanage, which turns out to be Cheung Shin was child from the orphanage before he was adopted as a child by Sang Pil. Besides Sang Pil, Cheung Shin also considers the head of the orphanage is his own father. And when the head of the orphanage see Cheung Shin, at first he looked happy, but when the head of the orphanage touched the wound on Cheung Shin's head, which turned out to be the marks of his punch first. But here he doesn't want to apologize and didn't regret his actions, until finally Cheung Shin immediately killed him and sucked his soul that makes Cheung Shin now is stronger. While the counters called again by the spirits to a meeting. There Wei Jian says if Cheung Shin has reached the last level and has been united with the evil spirit, so that Cheung Shin will be difficult to be defeat. And even worse, after 30 days of union of the evil spirits, then all the spirits in Cheung Shin's body will completely disappear. Hearing this, the counters were surprised and asked how to defeat Cheung Shin. And then Wei Jian replied that there is one last power they can use to stop Cheung Shin, namely by using the help of 4 sticks to make 4 walls who will make the evil spirits confined and make them very weak. Here, So Moon's strength comes into play important because it has to expend the power of a special area to defeat Cheung Shin. After knowing how to do that, the counters began to train themselves to be able to catch Cheung Shin. After training for days, So Moon finally realized that the power of his area could be raised when he had determined to save someone. After that, Motak is going to the crime scene where Zhang Yang died to look for evidence, and they're parked a man's car, which is inside there is footage dashboard that recorded a man when he was shooting Zhang Yang. And then Motak met Han, which is he is Zhang Yang's assistant. Motak asked Han for help to find evidence that Choi was a man in the footage. And then Han carried out his action by storing an eavesdropping device under the desk of the chief of police Choi. And after that, it was proven that the recording was indeed, it was Choi who had killed Zhang Yang. Knowing that, Motak and Han immediately going to the police station and showed evidence of the recording, until finally police chief Choi was arrested and will be punished. And then the scene returns to Cheung Shin, who is still in the orphanage. There Cheung Shin's good side is seen when seeing an orphans playing. In fact, he also very friendly to them. Elsewhere, Hana feels that there is an evil spirit that will kill a child, and it turned out that the evil spirit is Cheung Shin's friend who is going to kill a kid in the orphanage. Knowing that, Hana immediately tell about it to the other counters. When they are about to leave, they are seeing the light of a huge power that turned out to be belong to So Moon, who is about to save a child who was about to get hit. While the evil spirit who was about to kill a child was thwarted by Cheung Shin himself, who realized himself was also an orphan. He also even killed his own friend and sucked his soul, which made him now stronger and closer killed the child, because he could not control his great power. At night, the counters found the location of Zhang Xin. Before fighting, first, they prepared the magic sticks that's what will later be used as a barrier wall to catch evil spirits, while So Moon is in charge of issuing special area powers so that the counters increase their strength. And finally, that strength managed to make Zhang Xin with other evil spirits being weak, so that So Moon could easily defeat him. But when he was about to remove the spirit from Zhang Xin, suddenly a child came to stop So Moon, so the opportunity was used by Zhang Xin to shoot himself. So Moon, who see that, absolutely surprised, because if Zhang Xin really died, then the spirits of his parents would also disappear forever, and he would not be able to see his parents again. But So Moon thinks that the evil spirit in Zhang Xin's body might be looking for a new human, and it turned out to be that evil spirit now enters the body of Mayor, and then to do the adaptation, the evil spirit immediately leads Mayor to commit murder. At the same time, So Moon, who is still looking for people who have been possessed the evil spirit, he accidentally met Shin Hyuk being beaten. And then So Moon tried to help him. After the fight, Shin Hyuk walked up to him, and suddenly So Moon feels Shin Hyuk's memory, which shows that evil spirit has now moved to his father. Knowing that, So Moon is going directly to Mayor's house to confirm it, and after knew it, So Moon relieved because it meant he had a chance to save the spirit of his parents. The next day, So Moon told all the counters. At night, they began to use a plan to use the power of the stick again to lock up the mayor. But suddenly, one of the women evil spirits come and break one of their sticks, so that the ritual fails. In the fight, Motak and So Moon works together to defeat the mayor. But unfortunately, the mayor is so strong that they are both very overwhelmed to deal with him, while Hana will overcome the evil spirit that was inside the woman, until finally, Hana managed to bring out the evil spirit. And after yesterday's defeat, Chu Mei's wounds get worse, and then Jiang Mul decided to call the counter from Singapore named Zhang Gu to cure Chu Mei, because beside Chu Mei, Zhang Gu who has healing powers. The next day, So Moon was surprised when he sees Shin Hyuk asleep in his house yard and he is sick. Knowing that, he immediately took Shin Hyuk to the counter headquarters for treatment, so that's why Chu Mei was assigned to take care of Shin Hyuk, while the other counters followed Zhang Gu, who will replace Chu Mei, who has not recovered, will go to Mayor's house to rearrest him. Once there, the counters were surprised because suddenly the evil spirit was not as in Mayor's body, and it turns out that the evil spirit has moved into Shin Hyuk's body, which means that Chu Mei now is in danger. So Moon and Handai knows that directly return to the base to help Chu Mei, while Zhang Gu and Motak will wait there because they are sure that the evil spirit will return to the mayor. When Chu Mei continued to be beaten by Shin Hyuk, So Moon come and immediately beat him. Because that evil spirit had not adapted to Shin Hyuk's body, he could be defeated easily by So Moon. And suddenly, the evil came out and re-entered Mayor's body. And then Motak, who knows that, quickly took out the evil spirit in Mayor's body. But unfortunately, the spirit was so strong that made Motak fail to do it. And then Mayor raged there and attacked counter Zhang Gu to death. Motak, who see it, is very sad because he had to lose his members again. After that, the spirit in Zhang Gu's body going out to find a new body. But it turned out that spirit entered So Moon's body, so that it also makes So Moon stronger because he has two spirits at once. And it makes So Moon confident to defeat Mayor with his strength now. At night, So Moon takes Shin Hyuk to his house to heal his wounds and also erase his memory, and in the morning, Shin Hyuk feels confused because he is in So Moon's room. Even he also joined breakfast with grandmother and grandfather of So Moon. And it turned out that the last day of the counters could catch the evil spirits before they could live timeless and getting stronger, and So Moon's parents' spirits will vanish. The counter looking very agitated as they don't want any members to become the victims again, while Yang Mul told by Motak to wait in the tavern to help the new counter if they died in battle, and they are immediately going to the battle. And there is a fight there. In the middle of the fight, Hana, Chu Mei, and Motak are so overwhelmed to face the mayor. Even So Moon's grandfather was broken he made. When Chu Mei is going to treat him, So Moon refused because it endangered Chu Mei's life. And So Moon chose to get up, and immediately being furious there, he directly ejected a huge beam of light and succeeded in paralyzing the mayor. And then So Moon tried to remove the evil spirit from the mayor. But suddenly the mayor said if So Moon dared to take it out, then his grandmother and grandfather will be killed, which turns out grandmother and grandfather of So Moon have been put in a car, which will later be hit by a truck. Seeing that, Motak and Hana told So Moon to just focus on removing the evil spirits, because they will save his grandfather and grandmother. And then the evil spirits turn into So Moon's mother to make So Moon's concentration dissolve, but Chumei continued to resuscitate him, until finally, So Moon managed to remove the evil spirit and save the spirits of his parents. And at that time, So Moon fainted. When So Moon fainted, he was in the realm of the spirits. There, he was seen throwing an evil spirit of Changxin into the hell. Changxin continued to berate and not accept for what So Moon has done. But finally, he goes to hell where evil spirits are held. While in another place, the spirits that has been killed by evil spirits are gathering. It seems that they are confused whether they are already in heaven and have died. So Moon began to approach his parents and Wei Jian. So Moon is very happy when they turned around and saw him. But unfortunately, So Moon's parents doesn't recognize their grown son. And then Wei Jian explained to So Moon's parents that they had been dead for 7 years ago. Hearing that, So Moon's father and mother felt guilty for abandoning their child when he was child. Finally, Wei Jian invited So Moon's parents to go elsewhere. But before that, his mother thanked So Moon for saving them. And when his parents took a step, suddenly, So Moon's mother began to recognize her son's face, who has been growing up. His mother cried and apologized for not recognizing him. They cried happily and let go of each other's longing. And that happiness was carried over to the real world. So Moon happy smile when Hana delivered him who was asleep. And then the other counters would also go to the realm of spirit to catch up with So Moon. But strangely, when they feeling that they have been arrives, it turned out to be in the same place. And suddenly, someone entered there and met them, who turned out to be he is Chil Jung, their former friend who was killed by Changxin. They look very happy and let go of each other's longing, even though we know it is just his spirit. Meanwhile, the mayor already awakened from his coma. He was found guilty of all the murder cases he had committed, including the murder of So Moon's parents. The next day, after school, So Moon gets news if Shin Hyuk will bully people again. So Moon goes straight there. But it turns out that Shin Hyuk is apologizing to the people he had bullied in the past. He also apologized and thanks to So Moon, because he was very sorry for what he had done. While in the realm of spirit, the counters and spirits, they are discussing what task they will to do next. Because they feel So Moon's power is so great, finally Wei Jian decides that they would travel the world to hunt other evil spirits. Then the movie ends.